What is pantheism? Well, much to my chagrin, it has nothing to do with panthers. Nope. Today we will not be discussing medium-sized jungle cats. We will be discussing God, and that's what pantheism deals with. Who or what is God? Come join me at the cobblestone farm. I'm going to talk and work and probably screw up both at the same time. So why don't you come join and see if you can catch me making mistakes. Yeah, there we go. So now I can chill for a bit while we get those things full, and we'll see if we can finish the message before the cauldrons are full. So getting some information I got this from Stanford. So this is just a definition of pantheism. Says it's a metaphysical and religious position. Broadly defined, it is the view that God is everything and everything is God. The world is either identical with God or in some way a self-expression of his nature. So yeah, essentially it just God and the cosmos are kind of one and the same. It does reject the idea of a personal supernatural creator that is separate from the world, asserting instead that the totality of reality is sacred. So everything is sacred. So they put forth the notion that creation is sacred, so life is sacred, this earth is sacred, we are sacred, so everything therefore should be held sacred. So there's a sacredness to the reality we live in, and it is separate from the identity of a person or a being that is God outside of the universe, outside of creation. And yeah, I'm just gonna go straight into it, because I think for me, as a Christian, and that's what my stance here is, that I have to approach everything from the view of I am Christian. So like I'm not gonna give you the other view, because it would be like me being completely ignorant to something and then trying to explain it to you. I would need someone to explain it to me first, but what I can do is just note the things that sort of immediately come up against my spirit, and that's what I do. So when it comes up against my spirit, based on what I know, I address it in that context, and just to say, well, what do I believe and how do I approach that? So the two things that I was immediately drawn to in this was like the idea of God, the idea of divinity, the idea of how is this world, okay, first questions I asked was, how is this world sacred and divine? Now I'm not saying it's not, I'm just saying how, what is divinity? What is God? And God and divinity were the two things that immediately kind of were like, I have sort of my own definitions or my own views, right? So the three things that I noted was that my understanding of God, my understanding of divinity, is its eternal nature. And so immediately I was kind of like, well, we know that the world's dying, and we know that the universe is dying, and eventually this all will deplete. The stars will burn out, everything goes out. So I was immediately like, my question to that worldview, I guess, would be, how do you justify the sacredness of something that will eventually completely burn out and die? So the universe as we know it is losing entropy, and so it is depleting. Which leads into the other issue I had, is that, so my understanding of divinity is that its nature, it's a word called aseity. It's like your nature is that you can exist in and of yourself. You don't have any other source of power that needs to sustain you. And the universe, in its nature that it is dying, is obviously not being self-sufficient, in that the same amount of energy is always being put back into it. So these are the things that I was kind of addressing, because for me this all ties into, there's three things for me, is the eternal nature of God, the aseity, the nature of its origins or existence, is that it's self-sufficient, self-existing. It doesn't require anything outside of it. There's no predated cause that is greater than it. It is the original cause of all causes. So that's our Christian worldview, because divinity is by nature transcendent. It's by nature the greatest of the greatest. It's like, that's what God is. God is, there's nothing greater. Like, so whatever, which is why my third point is actually worship. You might think, well, what does that have to do with divinity? It's actually, like, I think it's huge, and I think that's actually the reason why, as I talk about pantheism, it's one of the main reasons why I actually disagree with it, is because where we direct our worship matters. And I think one of the eternal natures of God, so I'll explain it from Christianity. So we believe in a Trinitarian Godhead. Well, when I talk about worship, I'm actually not even talking about the worship of like man and creation to God. I'm actually talking about God in his eternal state. He's an eternal state of this is going to sound bad, but it's actually not self-worship. It's the perfect form of worship. See, that's the thing about the Trinitarian Godhead that we can't really fully explain, is it's one God, three separate persons. Yet what we see in Scripture is that the three persons of the Trinity are always perfectly honoring each other, which to me, that's actually worship. Like, so worship, I think we can always like picture like people bowing down or like, you know, singing songs, but worship is just what we hold sacred. It's what we protect, what we preserve, it's what we adore, it's what we give our time to. Worship is just the thing that you are literally upholding, you know. In some sense, like it's I don't want to say we worship, like, again, worship is a weird word because maybe there's better words, right? But like with children, how we encourage our children, if you give them proper praise for good deeds, it's quite well documented that they're going to actually do good. There is toxic praise, there's toxic versions of worship, toxic versions of praise and adoration, absolutely. But healthy praise and adoration to uphold someone when they're doing a good job is so beneficial to our nature. But in the Trinity, that's one thing you always see in Scripture. So the Father, when the Son comes down and he's getting baptized, the Father is saying, "This is my Son in whom I'm well pleased." But the Son also gives honor back to the Father and to the Holy Spirit by saying, unless I leave, the Spirit can't arrive. And so he wants to issue in the Spirit. Jesus wasn't like, hold on, I'm going to stay on earth for a few more years and chill, I kind of like it here, I'm going to do this. No, like everything was timed out, and they worked in perfect unison to deliver each person of the Trinity, and to work in this perfect context. But that's the thing, is the Father is always honoring Son and Spirit. The Son is always honoring Spirit and Father, and just vice versa. They're always holding up each other in perfect adoration and praise. And so that's our view of God in Christianity, is that he's eternal nature, his aseity is that he, you know, his self-sufficient nature. He doesn't need anything outside of himself, and that is to us divinity. And so I guess one thing I was trying to rectify and I'm trying to understand about pantheism is, if the creation is God and we're all dying, and it does seem like, you know, pure things are robbed and corrupted here. Like, there's corruption, and I think there's beautiful things that we have get taken and corrupted, and I'm like, so how do we justify that, I guess, or how do we work around that? Because again, the Christian worldview is that we're in a fallen state, that yes, by creation, absolutely, there was a sacred God element in creation in us. I mean, Adam received the breath of God to come alive. So that's the thing, is there's similarities. I actually noted a lot of very close similarities to Christianity and a lot of the pantheistic ideas of, like, so in Buddhism, they actually believe in, like, you know, again, I don't know the terms very well, but I think it's called non-permanence or something like that. Like, how essentially we don't have an identity. We don't. That's how they get through all this, is that we're not trying to create lasting things in those worldviews. Is that we're just a being that comes for a moment. We have no true eternal identity, but that all things flow, and this is why creation is God, is that there's no specific identity in me. I'm here for a moment, but like a vapor, I disappear, and then other spirits move through the world, I'm pretty sure that's, again, if someone that walks through the pantheistic view could maybe shed deeper light on that. But like they believe in detaching the self from the world. But it is funny. I had to laugh at that, and not because it's not because it's stupid or not intelligent or anything like that. It's just that's similar to what Jesus said. Unless you deny yourself and pick up your cross and follow me, you have no part with me. But that's the difference. See, he didn't say deny yourself because you have no self. He said deny yourself because yourself, your being, your identity is actually, it will lead you astray in this world. He says you actually need to have your sights on something, a target, which is what he gives. That's why he says follow me. I'm going to go through suffering, is what he's essentially saying. That's the whole picking up your cross mentality, is that he's like, I know you got plans, you got desires, you got all these wonderful things, but part of the walk with me is that you lay those down and you walk with me. And when I ask you to suffer for my name, that you are willing to do what's necessary in a moment for my name. And so that's the whole idea of laying down your life for Christ. It's not that we don't have an identity. We actually, hold on, as a matter of fact, give me a second here, because I'm going to, let's just switch over to this for 2 seconds. I'm going to find a little verse here, because let me just find this verse. Yeah, that's. I'm going to read through some of this, actually. This is going to be intense here. This is Revelations. I'm going to read through it anyways. Oh, actually, I found it. Here it is. Yeah. So this is the church of Pergamum. So there's, in Revelations chapter 2, there's churches that are, there's letters that are sent out to the churches. Now, this is very important. The book of Revelations that's exactly what it is. It's a revelation. John, Jesus' disciple, was on Patmos having a I think he was exiled there, I believe, is what the story is. And then what happens is that he's exiled there, but he has a revelation from God. So in this revelation, he's asked to send these letters out to these churches. So the church in Pergamum gets this letter. To the angel of the church of Pergamum write, these are the words of him who has the sharp double-edged sword. I know where you live, where Satan has his throne. Yet you remain true to my name. You did not renounce your faith in me, not even in the days of Antipas, my faithful witness, who was put to death in your city, where Satan lives. Nevertheless, I have a few things against you. There are some among you who hold to the teaching of Balaam, who taught Balak to entice the Israelites to sin, so that they ate food sacrificed to idols and committed sexual immorality. Likewise, you also have those who hold to the teaching of the Nicolaitans. Repent, therefore, otherwise I will soon come to you and will fight against them with the sword of my mouth. Whoever has ears, let him hear what the Spirit says to the churches. Now this is the important part that I was going to bring up. It says this: to the one who is victorious, I will give some of the hidden manna. I will also give that person a white stone with a new name written on it, known only to the one who receives it. So you see, that verse right there has always identified to me that even in the eternity, God has a name for us, which signifies that we actually have an identity outside of this world. That God remains an identity in us, keeps an identity in us, and doesn't remove it from us. Whereas the pantheistic view, I believe, is that your identity is like a vapor. So there's no real permanence to it. There's no real eternal nature in the actual identity itself. But that everything moves and comes and goes, and that's the nature of it. So those are the few things that I've kind of been working through with the idea of pantheism. And so yeah, those are the three issues, I suppose, I had with divinity, in the idea of how could this world be God. That was my first sort of target. And again, I sit down a conversation with someone who knows this on their side may be good, but those were my first things. So I believe the divine has to be separate from the creation. And I believe that Christianity, clearly shows that it is. One thing that one thing that I was also thinking about is this, is like, okay, well, if Christianity is true, the analogy I had in my mind is it's a lot like I had the pictures I had in my mind were this. Two pictures I had in my mind was this. It's like a painter making a painting, and then you're like, man, this painting is everything. Like the paint, and all you do is just praise the painting with no accolade or acknowledgement of the painter who made it. And it's like, again, this goes back to this idea of worship. See, I believe that God created the cosmos, and that blessing upon us is why we are actually, our purpose and intent is to worship him in the way that we live. Now, how, again, so going back to this idea and this word worship, when I say that, we got a small issue. When I say the word worship, this is actually how I define worship in the sense of the Bible. I think worship is actually that God gave us certain layers of authority in this universe to take care of things around us, to nurture and to love. And that actually, that level of authority is our worship to this world, but it's more overly our worship to God. See, how we behave, how we assume our roles of authority here on earth is our worship. You know, it's not singing a song in your car on a Sunday morning as you drive to church. I don't think that, like, I mean, that's a form of worship. It's a fruit. It's a fruit of things. I get it. Yeah, like I 100%, I'm all for that. I'm all for putting your hands up in church. I'm all for like singing and praising. But I truly believe our worship comes out of us just assuming the responsibility we were supposed to assume from the beginning, and to do the things that was actually meant for us to do. And that's just it. So I believe that God created us, and so his endowment, his blessing is that he gave us the land, the fruit, the trees, the sun. He gave us the beautiful things, the birds, the animals. He gave us that. That's the sacredness, absolutely. But that we are, but that even we are separate from it. So if we go back to Revelations 2, we have a stone in heaven. We have something in the eternal that goes beyond this. But within the context of this, we see that God is also saying that this too is sacred. And actually, he's quite grieved. You know, says through the Bible, he's grieved at the evil of the world because it's destroying his creation. It's killing the thing that he loves. And everyone's like, well, why doesn't God just do something about it? Well, he is, but that's the great patience, forbearance, and love of God, is he doesn't just smash things when they don't work out. He doesn't, that's just not how he operates. He's not like us, where we just smash, oh, forget, it's not working, it's broken. He did do that with the flood. That was the nearest approximation to it, and he has warned that a second flood is coming. And those are the two big events that are going to be the big determining factors of God's wrath. Like, so there is a wrath of God, and it is coming, but that's just it. It's not his first. It's not his MO. It's not his, like, I want that. He's very much in everything saying, I'm waiting for people to return with hearts to me at all times. 100%. That's his first desire. But in the notion of free will and choice, he does not intervene. Like, he's not going to intervene in that sense. But again, that's a whole nother conversation. Maybe I won't even try to get into at the moment, because, yeah, I don't need any Calvinists getting on here, or people. I don't need some deep theological debate that maybe I can't truly unpack here. But anyways, those are my first notes. I just think that we need to honor God, that he is the creator, and I think when we assume a role of actually worshiping the creator over the creation, that we find our right place, our right situation. We find our right mode of thinking, and we actually lock in on truth. Like, so when you realize we're actually here designed to live responsibly, to love the people around us, and that service is actually our worship to God. When you see that, and that we're giving it, that's our connection to the divine. See, to me, when I see a world that's dying, when war is out there, when people can take anything from me at any time, if they just run into my house right now and they could rob me, kill me, I want to put nothing in this. I did. Like I hate to say it like that, but I did. The sacred's not in that. Like Jesus said, do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth. Store them up in heaven where moth and rust don't destroy, where thieves don't break in and steal. So even Jesus was saying, listen, the sacredness that was here, it's gone. It's depleting. And guess what? If you keep storing up your sacredness here, you're going to keep being bankrupted and robbed. It's not going to fill your cup up. It's not going to bless you. And he's like, there is a blessing in heaven waiting. But there is a responsibility here on earth that determines that too. Again, I don't understand the whole eternal concept, and I'm not here to try to understand every aspect of it, but I base everything, all my understanding, off what Christ says. And if he says that how we live this life impacts eternity, I believe that. I believe that my life impacts eternity, which is scary to me because my life has been, well, it's been I am no golden boy poster child Christian, that's for sure. All this I'm doing right now, this is within the last 5 years of my life. Prior to this, I would have been out. I would never be talking about God on a stream on a Monday morning like this. Just wouldn't happen. Wouldn't be. I wouldn't be doing this. So this is all for me. This is like the grace of God to do this, and I'm willing to suffer now for His name. If people want to, ridicule or do anything, I'm open for that stuff nowadays, because it's just part of my process of, I just believe he's real. I believe his promises are true. I believe that when we attach ourselves to him, our purpose becomes realized, our responsibilities become manageable, actually manageable, not over our head impossible, not overwhelmingly stupid, but manageable and reasonable. Jesus said, my yoke is light, my burden is easy. That's the image of two. I guess I'm ready to put some lava in here. I'm looking at this just thinking like, yeah, we're good to go, minus the fact that there's that water here. Ugh, I'm nervous because I had this thing working. Let me see. Why? Why do you do this to me? Why do you play these games? Now most of them go. I'm not gonna worry about it, I don't think. Most of them go. Yeah, we're good enough. Okay. So there's my first thoughts. Yeah, my first initial thoughts is, how do we define divine? How do we define God? Christian worldview is he is a separate being, a Trinitarian Godhead that is perfectly self-sufficient, perfectly eternal, and perfectly worshiping in and of itself, actually. Now the worship that it receives from creation is due to it as well. So we are created, our worship is due to him, but that's just it. Worship comes in how we treat others. Jesus said the fulfillment of all commands is to love your neighbor as yourself. So even Jesus was saying, that's your worship. Your worship is to go out and to stop hating people. Just actually just care for people. We have run amok of that one. Okay, I'm ready. Let's get some lava in here. Let's get some lava in here.